You are now listening to the Two Dads Run podcast. Just two dads who run, talking about running, and being dads, and some other stuff.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. My name is Gray.
This is Kevin.
And we are the two dads behind the Two Dads Run podcast. This is episode 1. We made it, buddy. How you feeling?
Doing good, man. Who would have thought, a run and one of the many that we've done and just kind of, spitballing some stuff and some ideas, and here we are. We made it happen.
So, I mean, the idea for this, so just a little backstory on Kevin and I. We have been friends for well over 20 years now. He and I are from the same small town here in North Carolina, a little town called Hope Mills. We were track and cross-country teammates at Southview High School in Hope Mills, coached by the legendary Jesse Autry.
Laverne, yes.
Laverne. How many consecutive conference championships did that guy win, huh? How many was it?
Well, we just went to his 20th together not too long ago, and we were part of that first one, which was kind of cool.
You were on the first one. I was on 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So Kevin was a year ahead of me. But anyway, after that, we kind of did our own thing. Life took us to different parts of the country. I know I was in D.C. for a long time. Where all were you?
Yeah, I mean, after all that happened, let's see, I ran at UNCG for a little bit, but North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a nice little experience. But North Carolina, then to Indianapolis, and where I met Adria, now my wife of 11 years, and then, goodness, Indianapolis, then to Louisville, Kentucky to St. Louis, and then here in RDU. So
all the way back full circle.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did the college thing for a minute. I didn't run collegiately. I was more concerned with the party atmosphere, and I went to the worst possible school I could have gone to for that. I went to East Carolina. I like to say that I partied there for 3 semesters because there wasn't much class involved, and apparently that's frowned upon. So yeah, did that, and then went up to Northern Virginia. Crashed with my dad for a little bit, and got into restaurants, which is something I'm still doing now, 18 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Walked into TGI Fridays. When I moved to Northern Virginia, I had one friend, Courtney, if you're listening, appreciate it. But I had one friend, and she was a waitress at TGI Fridays, and she's like, "Hey, do you need a job?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, actually." She said, "Well, come on in, and I'll get you an interview." I was like, "Dude, I don't know anything about the restaurant business." She's like, "Great, it's TGI Fridays. Just come in and, interview." So, yeah, here we are 18 years later, kind of managed every kind of food service there is to do.
Spinach and artichoke.
Yeah, right? But that's where I met my wife, Kristen. We've been married for almost 9 years now. 2 little girls, just like yourself.
Yeah.
2 little girls, 6 and 2.5. And yours are how old again?
Finley is 7 and Farrah is 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
You guys mess around, just boom, boom, get it out of the way, huh?
You know what? that necessarily was not the plan, but the higher ups had a plan for us, and no, it's all been pretty good, and it's funny. We still talk about maybe we should try for that third. Maybe it'll be a boy, but
that's a hard pass for me.
Yeah, and that's exactly. Yeah, I just got to see our beautiful niece Lola be born not too long ago, and from my wife's side of the family, and it's just like that would be us. We would go for the third and being a boy, and then that third is a girl. So I think we're good.
Yeah,
we're good with 2.
I'm right there with you. Busy. The universe, there's no way the universe is granting me a son at this point.
I mean, you're in the same boat.
My past transgressions, I don't think that, if karma is real or whatever kind of cosmic force that you believe in, there's absolutely zero chance that being or force will grant me a son.
I mean, I'm telling you, between, as you mentioned, I totally forgot. Yeah, I was part of that first championship, and then you were 2, 3. But that pack, that group that in that year 1 that I hung out with, and now fast forward, and in order to be friends with us, it sounds like you just have to have daughters, because
pretty much
the other guys, it's just, I think there was like
Well, it's like our friend
12 or
Harry.
13.
Yeah, he's got 2 little girls as well. We're going to try to get Harry on the show at some point, but he's a humble dude. He didn't want to come on and talk to us, but yeah. So, speaking of having guests on, just to kind of let you guys in on what the podcast is going to be about. Kevin and I are both freaks for running, even though I took a pretty long hiatus from it. Kevin, tell us a little bit about, tell the listeners a little bit about what you've been doing in terms of racing and some triathlons and things like that.
Yeah, I got out of the sport for a while too. I mean, especially when Finley was born, our first one, and you're trying to adapt to life itself, and you think that you're just busy and you don't have a single second for yourself. But you look back now and you're like, my goodness, if we just could go down and wink it, how much time would we have? And then even now, so. Adria actually was the first person in the family to do a half Ironman, and I always watched the Ironman World Championship Kona on NBC when they would show that once a year. And there was a year when I saw that, and Adria got inspired, and she linked up with a coach who was also putting a training program for the first time, and so she became essentially his athlete that he kind of wanted to work with to just try different things, and got to see her process and see her just grind it out for 6-7 months and then just killing the race. I'm like, you know what, if my wife can do it, I can definitely start moving towards my goals. So yeah. So I did, I've done a few Ironman races, qualified for a couple other cool races. Escape from Alcatraz in San Francisco was probably
Nice.
one that, even like on the runs I go on, when we go on runs and you're whipping my ass, per mile and things like that, it's just, I go back to some of those times. I'm like, this is why I do it. It's just so fun. And the community, I think that's involved with triathlon and running itself, you can't take that for granted. And everybody wants to see everybody win. And then, what it does to you personally when you train. So yeah, I've been in it for a while, so I want to continue to keep doing it. And, I think that's, the fun thing when you and I meet up, and then we get others to join us, and just
it is such an awesome community, and I'm really really happy to be a part of it. I'm glad to be back in it. So when we started talking about doing this podcast, there was a lot of different things that we wanted to talk about. There's so many different areas of this sport that interest us. We're both pretty big self-proclaimed shoe geeks. I'm just amazed at the technology advances that have happened since the last time I was a really serious runner. So we're going to talk about shoes. We're going to talk about sports science. We're going to talk about races, all things current events when races do start. We're kind of it seems like there's a light at the end of the tunnel of this pandemic. We're approaching spring now. It's early March of 2021, and it seems like we might be almost done. You got the vaccine rolling out. A lot of people are taking it, thank goodness. So maybe we can kind of get back to normal a little bit. But typically how the show will work is you'll have to suffer through a couple of minutes of me and Kevin and just kind of shooting the breeze a little bit, updating each other on our training and any kind of upcoming races. And then really every other episode we plan to have on a guest from somewhere in the running world. It could be a physical therapist, it could be an athlete, it could be a former athlete, and it could be somebody who never competed at all but has some kind of affiliation with the running community, or just does something that we think is cool. I think we got a special connoisseur of sorts coming on at some point, which I'm really excited to talk to him and pick his brain a little bit. But I mean, really kind of excited to hear and talk to all these different people, and hopefully we can keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm most excited about is, I'll tell you, you are probably the only person I know that when we do go run, we typically talk nonstop. And usually when I do that with others, they're like, yeah, I'm never running with you again, Kevin. So I think that's kind of where this podcast starts. Like, let's just table this for when we get into the podcast room and start talking. But anything and everything that just, not only dads, but people that are into just
and
fitness.
dads too. Yeah.
And
We don't want to alienate the moms, but definitely being a dad will be an awesome plus to coming on the show, or just a parent in general.
Oh, absolutely. I think what's cool too, with you and I both being fathers of daughters, and what does that outlook look like for these future beautiful women, and being able to talk about anything and everything under the sun that has to do with fitness and family. Like you mentioned, connoisseur. I'm a big bourbon drinker, and we know some people, that start their own distilleries, and to get people excited to hear things about something that they had no idea even, I won't say existed, but just didn't know the science behind, as you mentioned, shoes and stretching and some programs and then also some of the different methods on how, we're getting old. I mean, we're pretty old. How do we continue to stay active when we're in our 50s, 60s, and even 70s? And that's what I loved about triathlon. There's this lady. She's been doing triathlons for a while, and I don't want to mess up her name, but she is a sister. So she's an ordained sister, and she's been doing triathlons forever. And she is just this inspirational story. And there's so many of them out there. And it doesn't have to stop when you have kids. It doesn't have to stop because you've got a job. No, life continues to go on, and that's what I'm really excited to talk to you and whoever wants to hear. Great. I think the people that do listen to us, they'll be excited.
Our tens of listeners.
Yeah. It starts off with
Sorry, I've been holding on to that joke for 11 and a half minutes now, so I just couldn't hold it in anymore.
It starts with one, and then maybe by the second show it's two, but more importantly, just
someone not related to us.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and not only are we a couple of jerks that just happen to have access to a pretty dope podcast studio, definitely better than I was expecting, but Kevin has recently picked up a couple of certifications and starting kind of a new venture that's going to be a side venture for now, and hopefully...
I mean, yeah, would that be the goal? Absolutely. One of the goals that I've always had was to become USA Triathlon certified, and balancing when I was going to take that course and have the time to study and really kind of put the time in with everything going on. Just had to figure out a time to do so, and just dove straight in and put some time into it. And
how much time are we talking about here?
I mean, it depends. How much time what do you want to get out of it?
Yeah.
You could probably pay the X amount of dollars, and it's not a cheap course, and just do the bare minimum and get the certification. But that's not what I wanted to do, especially having a bunch of races that I felt that some people would want to be interested in hearing about and them doing themselves. So my thing was, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it for a specific reason. And in this case here, it's it took a while. I'd say it took me probably about 3 or 4 months to where I feel now that I'm pretty solid with everything that I can offer. And then the Roadrunners coaching certification, that's also the cool one that just took forever for me to get off the waiting list and to get on there.
I slept on it and ended up missing it and getting on the waiting. Now I'm in wait list purgatory now. So tell the listeners that may not be familiar with RRCA, what does that coaching certification entail?
So for the Roadrunners coaching certification, I'll tell you, for me, when I took the class, just the people that were participating and then the instructors, it's truly for people that have a true passion for running and wanting to be part of a community that really is just trying to embrace all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, and motivate and support, but in the right way. The methods and the planning, and then again, we talked about the science earlier. The science behind it, it's pretty neat. So there's a lot more again than just taking the certifications. There's different levels with each one, and
I mean, experience absolutely comes into that. I mean, there's going to be there's no, as I'm sure in many other sports, there's no one size fits all here, right? I mean, you're your 25-year-old triathlete or endurance runner, or your 38-year-old like us, and even differences between men and women, right? There's going to be, and even individual to individual, there's going to be so many different changes. And I'm still toying around with, how not to get injured and not get broken. I'm in a pretty good place right now. I've realized that maybe 5 days a week is not the greatest for me. Maybe for right now I need to be at 4. So, are these certifications going to help you kind of, ingrain some of these different coaching techniques that you can use with different people? Or is it going to be kind of utilizing your own experience through competing through all of this? Which one do you think is it going to be a little bit of both?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of both. And it's funny you say that, because I was...
Sorry to put you on the spot, buddy.
No, you are. So now I was talking to Adria about this, Adria, my wife, and how, I'm excited about, the certifications. Again, you don't even need to have the certifications to be a coach. So that was more so of a personal thing that, I wanted that stamp of approval for myself to say, all right, not only have you done the races and you trained and coached yourself, but how about you go seek some of the people that have been doing the other part, which is the coaching, a lot longer than you have, and you can maybe pick up a few things. So, what I look forward to, especially with the athletes that I am coaching right now, it's every program is specifically tailored to them, and it's what do they want. For me, all my athletes I want them to finish each and every single race with a smile on their face. If it's the toughest race in their life, I want them to finish with a smile. If they feel like it's going to be a very easy one and they just want to go out here just because, I want them to finish that race with a smile. But the programs leading up to it is going to be tailored to exactly what their lifestyle is, and really how much time that they have to offer, and not necessarily put them in a position where they're just not going to have fun with it, and let alone come race day, they're just not prepared enough to even complete the race. So it's specifically tailored, and then to share my experiences and to be able to, I think that's kind of the cool part about being on the other end now a little bit. Yeah. With the coaching is when, like, those butterflies that you get as an athlete preparing for, in this case, I'll use Alcatraz. I mean, you're looking at the Pacific Ocean, and you know how cold it is, and you've seen sharks in the water, and
there's zero chance you're getting me in that
water. Sea lions, and you're like, I'm gonna go swim in there, and then you see Alcatraz Island across the way, and like, I'm gonna jump off of a boat all the way into the this cold water and swim across shore. So as an athlete, those jitters, you can't replicate that. You can't replicate that on the Saturday morning run. Even like when we go run and it's freezing cold at 4:30. We can't do that on the Tobacco Trail. No. So when the athlete themselves get into that mindset, like, what they're feeling and you're excited for them. And so you're there to coach them along the way, to just help them relax, allow them to trust in their training. And so that's where my experience I think will come into and help my athletes just gain a little more confidence. But it's going to come from them in their training.
So do you think the training is going to be, what is your kind of overall vision for where you want to take this, right? Is it just a training piece, or do you eventually want to add more components to this, little venture you're getting started on here?
Yeah, no, first, before I even say anything else, I want to thank Dr. Brian Parker, S2G, and the whole family that, one, we're utilizing their studio.
Thank you, Dr. Brian Parker. Appreciate it, buddy.
But no, those guys, Michael Smith, who's actually the national fitness director, and he and I have been talking as far as how can we scale the running and triathlon component of it. And they have athletes all across the world, and a lot of them are bodybuilding athletes, which in their world, very impressive. But I think the transferable mindset with each is that there's just a passion for what they do, and especially when it comes to a specific sport. So no, to scale it up, to be able to coach athletes worldwide, the technology right now, and then the data that comes along with that technology, I think is very cool. Not being, and you've been able to see already in the last few weeks, I'm not the most tech savvy person or data person.
Yeah, guys, a little peek behind the curtain. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I think I've known this guy for over 20 years, and learned in our first session in the studio that Google is a stretch. No offense, buddy.
Well, no. And I'll tell you, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi for a long time were very confusing. So no, I'll admit to that. But as in everything that we're trying to do and grow and learn, no. So I want to be able to, for my athletes that are kind of that data-driven type athlete, be able to provide that type of need for them. And then the ones that really don't care about the data, they just kind of want to know, where they're at on the actual training plan, and we'll just make sure that as far as injury-wise, that they're good to go, and it's really kind of basic. Yeah, I mean, it's really to encompass all athletes. The other thing too, we talked about Two Dads Run, having Finley and Farrow 7 and 5, and being able to have a youth endurance and eventually elite team. Triathlon, it's a growing sport. It's one where universities and colleges are offering scholarship programs, and I'd love to continue to grow that new crop that's actually what's going to essentially carry the torch for this sport. Because right now, the average age for triathletes is around that 44 or 45.
Yeah. Probably pretty similar to where marathoning is as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it does take a mindset. And I feel, with most athletes like us, it's, all right, this is what I want to do because I've done a lot of trial and error to get here. But if we can help the youth, kind of what our coach did for us, 20, 25 years ago, and be able to just grow that and scale, that's where I like to see this go.
Yeah. And I mean, I think now is a great time, as we kind of, like I said earlier, hopefully we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel here with the pandemic. So I think there's going to be, just us personally, I know we're both kind of dying to get back into a race and kind of be, in a more normal racing environment. I mean, the virtual thing, I fully understand the race producers having to pivot to keep their businesses alive as much as they possibly could. But I don't think anybody except for your people that are just chasing medals really are really all that into the virtual runs. They'll do it to support the companies that put on their favorite races and things like that. There is a really cool virtual experience though. The Eugene Marathon.
What's that? I know where Eugene is, but what's so special about that one?
The Eugene Marathon is the one they're doing. They've taken the wood from the steps of Hayward Field and made their medals out of these steps. And apparently the swag that comes with it is pretty awesome too. It's like a beanie, a Nike Tech shirt, and a buff. And this piece of Hayward Field.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. When
do you have to do it by?
I think it's in April.
Okay.
I think it's by the end of April you have to do it. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but if you're gonna do a virtual race experience, I just always kind of thought it was lame. If I'm gonna go out and run 13.1 miles on my own, like I did this past Saturday, I don't really want to have to pay you $60 to do so, right? It's a run I'm going to do anyway, and I'm going to be by myself or with you or Harry or whoever else, and it just doesn't sound that appealing to me. But I think we're getting to the point where there's going to be an extreme hunger to get out and race for all of everyone that's been sidelined for the past year.
No, exactly, and that's what you and I talked about too. I remember one run where being a race director, hosting different races, different benefits, 5K, 10K, halves, fulls. You think about some of those cool races that unfortunately had to be put on pause. I know one that a lot of people have done, and I've never done it, but the Color Run. But, the excitement.
Are they still around?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. There hasn't been anything out there lately.
Right. Nothing has been around.
The
for
Rock
the
and Roll
last
Marathon
year.
and those ones. And, that's and I felt, and I could be wrong, but I felt that there was just so much momentum going in that direction where all these races and these neat themes were popping up, and then boom. So some probably couldn't sustain. And now to what you're saying, it's like, yeah, I think it's going to grow.
Well, I think a lot of what you're saying is correct. But another little peek behind the curtain was doing a little pre-interview with a future guest that's going to be coming on the show with us. And he's done some race production with his company and things like that. And, you know, he brought up a great point that I hadn't really thought about. The race market was so overly saturated. I mean, no matter where you live in the country, it seems there was a race every single weekend within a short, hour drive or so, right? So, going into all this, there was just so many races. And there's a finite amount of people that are going to run these things, right? You're going to have your weekend warriors that do the turkey trot 5K or whatever, and that's pretty much all they're going to do. No offense to you guys, you're running, but you're also going to.
Dude, I love the turkey trots.
I've actually never run one. I think I ran a Shamrock run or something as my first ever 5K.
I'll tell you one of the lame things, because it was something that Adrian and I did even before kids. And oh my God. And then my mother-in-law.
I already know where this is going.
Well, we would always do that on Thanksgiving morning because we would typically be in Indianapolis and freezing cold.
Okay, I do not understand the people that run on Thanksgiving morning.
But no, there was this one.
Did you guys hold hands the whole time?
No, we didn't hold hands. No, we didn't. We would meet, and any time we would get together, Adrian and I, it's always competitive. It always goes in with the right intention, but especially if it's a race, I'm always hey, can I go? He's like, no, I want you to run. Can I go? I'm like, ugh. So usually about mile 2 or halfway in the race, she's like, just get on my face. I'll see it at the finish line. But
so kind of like when you and I run together.
So we do finish, but what she enjoys and what I enjoy too is that we would wear the turkey trot.
Of course you would.
Shirt to Thanksgiving, and she liked to show it off, say, hey, look what I did for another family. So we did that. I mean, we probably did that 10, 11 years in a row.
Wow.
I mean, I still have a 2004 turkey trot long sleeve.
It's your favorite shirt, isn't it?
No. Not a big fan of red.
No?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. I guess all that often. So, what is, as we, again, I feel like I'm beating this to death, but, is there something about the end of this, the possible, hopefully, end of this pandemic that you're just kind of looking forward to? I mean, is there anything in particular, or is it just kind of the sum of just getting back some normalcy?
The travel piece is huge.
Yeah. You guys like to get around a lot, right?
Yeah. We try to as much as possible. I mean, granted, work and other obligations, and the biggest one, money, but. No, we like to travel quite a bit, and that's the big thing. It's just getting back into the community and getting back in different cultures, and and then doing races all across the world. I was bummed out, but that probably has been a while since I've had a little bit of motivation like that. I'm like, all right, this is going to be the one.
Yeah, you had applied for something recently, right? What was it?
So it was the Patagonia. In Chile, so in the Andes Mountains. So you're closer. Dude, awesome. You're closer to Antarctica than you are to the U.S. at that point.
That's insane.
The water is actually a little colder, believe it or not, than the Pacific Ocean. So the water there is about 50 degrees. So you fly into Santiago, Chile, and then you take I believe it was about another 2-hour flight, like one of those island hopper flights, into the small town that's south of Santiago, Chile. So that puts you even closer to the south of the world. And then obviously you're in the mountains, so the swim is cold. So you hop on a ferry, kind of same concept as Alcatraz. But in this case here, the wetsuit, you're wearing foot booties, you're wearing gloves. I mean, your ears obviously have to be protected. But anyways, yes, I wanted to do that. Unfortunately, didn't get it. Maybe next year. But those destination races, man, to just test the human spirit, to test what you've been created to do, and do it in a beautiful spot in the world that's been there forever. I mean, granted, I wasn't looking forward to it, but I'm like, yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, dude. There's nothing you just said sounds like anything I want any business.
I'll probably be the only one that
let's fly for 10 hours on a plane. right?
Yep.
We'll get there. We'll jump in some cold ass water.
Yep.
Swim for how far?
So it's a full iron distance.
Oh, God.
So you're doing a little over 2 miles swim and
2 miles in some freezing
definitely
cold
well
water.
over 100 miles. I mean, and you're in the Andes Mountains and you're up.
And then you got to run a marathon to top it off.
And then you got to run a marathon in those same mountains.
Yeah.
And
You're a madman.
I'll tell you, if there's somebody that would be cool for us to get on here, but right now, I know for at least the next 90-ish days, maybe we can't, but we will. So that'll be the goal, if you hear me now. But the Iron Cowboy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard of him.
Yeah. Actually, today, for the very first time, as a matter of fact.
How'd you hear about him?
In one of my several running shoe groups that I'm in on Facebook. So I think one of them was talking about, is he doing a 100, 100, 100 challenge right now? So he's going to do 100 full Ironmans in 100 consecutive days.
That's
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's just insanity.
Yeah. Even
if you do half, hell, I'm impressed.
Well, he did do half.
Yeah.
He did do 50. That's how he became the Iron Cowboy. I believe he was named the Iron Cowboy prior.
Uh-huh.
And if there's diehard triathletes that know him, they're probably gonna be like, how don't you not know that? But the documentary though is on Netflix of him and his wife and his kids supporting him through the 50 Ironmans in 50 days. And I mean, the guy was literally about dead.
I can
halfway,
imagine. Yeah.
And then obviously to the end. And so the fact that he's doing double, I mean, when you watch this documentary and you see him do the 50, you're just exhausted watching
that's
it.
Got to be,
so the Iron Cowboy is the guy we need to get on here.
Yeah,
and he did that. So he did the Patagonia.
Oh, trust me,
that's
I've got a dream list of guests, and they vary in level of attainability, I think. But there might be a couple that maybe I'm a little overly ambitious, but I'm really looking forward to getting the opportunity to chat with some of these people. Is there anything? Are you training for anything now, or are you just kind of knocking out some mileage several days a week?
Yeah, so I decided a few months ago that let me go do an ultra, 100-mile race, just a 100-mile run race.
For punishment.
I'm telling you, I don't know why, because it's not like I have any free time anyways. But for someone like me, it's just I just always have to be on the go. I just can't be standing.
Yeah,
still.
I hate the whole I don't have time. No, you have time.
I know.
It's just not a priority.
I know.
And I'm not.
I use my time with that.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you have the time. I mean, Kevin is training for an ultra marathon on top of a very demanding job, on top of being an awesome dad to Finley and Farah, and seemingly a great husband from the outside looking in. Probably much more so than me.
Today, I think I was.
Yeah, today you were.
Yesterday, maybe not so
Yeah.
much.
Okay. Well, hey. We can't be, can't be great every day, but and then I'm training for a half marathon, definitely not your 100-miler, but it's still these things take a lot of time. My job is I'm in the restaurant business still, and that's can be very demanding at times, and other times it can be not so demanding. It ebbs and flows, I guess, like most industries do. But
by the way, I love your stores. I love your restaurants.
Oh, thank you. I guess I should say who it is. Yeah. So I am the general manager of Clean Eats, the location in Cary, North Carolina. And we are most well known for our weekly meal plans. So we do prepackaged meals and stuff like that. So it's a super awesome concept, founded by some really awesome people, Don and Yvonne Verity. And they're just really down-to-earth people. I've really enjoyed my time working for Clean Eats. My franchisee, Mike Parker, is pretty cool as well. I've really I've learned a lot from him. I hope he's learned some things from me. But yeah, it's been super cool. He just texted
me now and he says absolutely not.
Yeah. So maybe we should get him on here at one point, and we'd have to do multiple installments because that dude can talk. That dude can talk. So I mean, I think our first interview was like 3.5 hours when I was interviewing for the job.
Jeez.
So yeah, 3.5 hours of sitting in Starbucks, just kind of going round and round. I mean, there was an immediate kind of, compatibility there that I think
it just
worked.
took 3.5 hours for it to.
No, it was there. I mean, and that was the thing. Like, I think we spent maybe 20 minutes talking actual, like, interview stuff, the normal interview stuff. And then from there, it was just kind of, the great thing about it is we practice what we preach. Almost everyone that's involved with it that I know is active somehow. I wasn't running at the time. I was competing in powerlifting, and I was a certified personal trainer. Never trained anybody, just kind of did it for my own knowledge base. But, I was competing in powerlifting and just, staying active after spending the better part of a decade hungover when I was a bartender.
Yeah.
So it was part of the deal, But yeah, no, I mean, to kind of come around to where we were talking about is if you can find time and I can find time, we both have the family and other hobbies and things like that we're into, there's like, that is my least favorite thing ever. I don't have time.
Yeah.
You have time.
Yeah.
You just didn't make it a priority.
No, I agree. And, even to, for us to get together when we do, so to put things in perspective, it's 10 o'clock on a school night.
Yeah, we're grinding.
And, that's just because
we're grinding on a Tuesday, you gotta get in where you fit in, man. It comes back to, what do you want to make a priority? You and I both, when we started talking about this, we knew it was going to be a challenge, from a time standpoint, but, it's something that we wanted to do. We're passionate about this sport. We're passionate about the community because there really isn't anything like it. You said something earlier about, everybody wants everyone to win. And I mean, that's the great thing about running. There's a podcast, and actually was one of that I listened to that was a big influence on me wanting to kind of get started doing this. And one of their hosts talks a lot about, running is, and I don't know if this is his original thought, but or if he, borrowed it from somebody else, but running is one of the only sports, marathoning or half marathoning or whatever, where you could be on the same course as the elites. Maybe you're not on the course with Eliud Kipchoge, but you could, run the same course as, Sarah Hall or, Kira D'Amato or Galen Rupp, whatever. Mm-hmm. So you're going to feel the same thing. When you're hitting, those last couple of miles of a race, you're both feeling the same thing, essentially, right? You're both giving everything you have. You're both running on empty. You're both running the same course. They just may be way, 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 way far ahead of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the same. I mean, you both trained your butts off, and it's just, there's no real other sport like it.
Yeah, and triathlon's very similar to that, where you've got your world's greatest. I mean, Jan Frodeno, Lionel Sanders. You've got so many. I remember way back when we first started, Chrissy Wellington was a phenomenal triathlete, and in some of these big races, I mean, that's the unfortunate part. For just a regular age group or an amateur, it does cost quite a bit. It's up there on what some of these race entry fees, but the experience, and when you get a chance,
forget about the fees, the bikes.
Yeah, I mean, just with running, you think about the shoes too. So they all have its pros and cons. But
okay, $250 Vaporflies or $6,000 bike.
Yeah, and that's probably just a good bike.
Yeah, that's like a middle tier bike. Is your $6,000 bike?
The other pieces with it too. You've got to get the clips. You've got to, the wheels.
And we're not even talking about wetsuits yet. Right.
No, I mean, each discipline has, their own expenses and costs that comes with it. But, back to what you're saying with running, but then also with triathlon, with these types of sports where you get to see really I'll tell you, being able to see some of my idols in some of these races, and as I'm setting up my transition, so your transition is where you would come in after the swim to get your stuff for the bike, and then when you're done with the bike, you switch into your run gear, and then you come out. So before the races, you have this time where you're setting up your station, and as all the other athletes are. So if you get there early enough, typically the pros are probably one of the first ones there, and all of them are pretty cool. You can just go walk up to them and just, hey, good race. Good luck in your race today. And then you get to see, I think that's, not to be weird or anything, but the physical specimen of, wow, that's what an elite looks like. And
the closest I came to this was being in my senior year of high school of cross country. I was in the same race. Notice I said in the same race as Alan Webb, because I saw him at the start line. Yeah. I saw him at the gun, and he took off, and then I saw him.
One of the U.S.'s best mile runners out
there. I mean, Olympian, the whole deal. Holds the freshman or the high school. Does he still hold the high school record for fastest mile?
I haven't checked it, but I know within the last
couple
of
years,
time.
It's been a long time. But the dude was a monster. Yeah. And he wasn't even breathing hard by the time I finished. I think he set a course record that day. But anyway.
But I think it comes down to, though, is will I ever be that Olympian? I know myself, and definitely know, and I know myself, and that's definitely not going to happen. Yeah. But can I be the best badass version of myself? Exactly. And then I get to really see it on a weekend basis. So you talked about all those races that pop up. That was kind of a cool thing. I love to be able to, if I waited too long to sign up for something, I could do it, and then boom. And I was saying earlier, the community, just the other people, the different shapes, sizes, backgrounds, experience, and everybody's high-fiving each other. Everybody's got the jitters, and with these races, when you're done, like the best part is the finish line. Especially when you're done, you get to go back to the finish line and then cheer all those people on. So, and that's kind of the cool thing that I think that keeps bringing myself back, and I know for you back too, is just, hey, being able to share, this next chapter as far as, hey, how do we continue to keep this with, life continue to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you said, I mean, just being able to find out what you're capable of. What can I do? And I think that this podcast is a perfect example of it. We have the resources to do it. Hell, let's give it a shot.
We've got one under our belt.
Yes,
one podcast under our belt. Let's keep it going, and who knows? Again, those types of guests that we can have, and that'll help. I know they'll inspire us, but then help inspire others out there that might be on, that seat where it's I don't know, should I or shouldn't I? And then you just hear from like-minded people. It's like, you know what? Yeah, definitely do it, because if there's anything that this pandemic I think has taught, I'll say for me personally, is don't take life for granted. Every single day, every single moment, do it. So we're going to talk to people that do it and live it. Like you mentioned, the physical therapists, the ones that started it on their own with the right mentors, the different athletes in the communities, the different entrepreneurs. And that's kind of like the cool thing that I'm looking for. So we're on episode 1. So let's do another one of these at episode 100 and see how these guests have helped us along the way.
Absolutely. So let's put a bow on this one. Let's wrap this one up. If you guys want to check us out on Instagram, we are at 2dadsrun. You can also email us if you like, Grey, Grey, at 2dadsrun.com, or Kevin, Kevin, at 2dadsrun.com. We're also working on a Facebook group that is out there, possibly a Strava group if you want to look me up on Strava. Kevin, are you on there? Not yet.
Nope. I'll let you know about the run club.
So yeah, you can just search my name, Grey, Grey, Rogers, on Strava, if you want to kind of keep up with what's going on there. And we'll keep you guys posted on YouTube channels and all of that kind of stuff. You'll get to see our ugly mugs as we're doing these podcasts. And we look forward to sharing some of our passion for this sport with you. So please send us some feedback. Let us know. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care of each other.